Good morning. I'm John Slosar. I'm the Chief Executive of Cathay Pacific here in Tokyo at the WTTC.
Thank you for taking some time out to speak to Breaking Travel News this morning. As you say, we're at the World Travel and Tourism Conference 2012. How significant do you think are forums like this in getting the travel industry's message across to governments and to sort of global players?
Well, I think it is very important, actually, because the travel industry contributes a lot to the world economy. In tourism is very important in many different economies. Business travel is very important, I think, for every economy. These days supply chains are global, and people go around to make them happen, and travel facilitates all that. Travel is more and more important in terms of education. People travel overseas for education, for families, and everything. So I think travel has just become more and more a part of everyday life, and it's important that that message gets through. There's a lot of people who would like to take a negative view of travel somehow, and I think the positives wildly outweigh the negatives.
Okay. Your airline's a rare thing at the moment. You're increasing passenger numbers and still profitable. What do you think are the sort of underlying trends which keep you in the black, whereas legacy carriers, certainly in Europe, have been suffering over the last couple of years?
Well, first of all, it's a very volatile business. I mean, every dog has his day, I think, and if you have a few days, then you count yourself lucky, really. But I mean, the pressures on the business clearly are your costs, of which oil is the biggest, and at the moment, oil is very high. For us, last year, oil was over 40% of our total costs, and that's a big thing to manage because oil is very volatile, so it's up and it's down. And that's been one of the challenges from last year. Another challenge from last year is cargo. Air cargo is a big part of our business. In a good year, about 30% of our total revenue can come from air cargo. Air cargo tends to correlate very strongly with the world economy and world trade. So when the economies are strong, when trade is strong, air cargo is obviously going to be strong as well. In 2010, it was wonderful. Last year, it was not so wonderful. This year is still weak, largely, I think, again, because the world economy is basically weak. And the other third component, I think, of our type of airline is premium traffic. I mean, we are a premium airline. We have a lot of business travelers. We link up a lot of business travel hubs around the world, whether it's New York, whether it's London, whether it's Hong Kong, Sydney, Tokyo. And that market, again, tends to respond pretty much to what's going on in the world economy, especially, I suppose, in the finance portion of the world economy. So if the world economy is strong, finance is strong, that's going to be good for us as well. And I think everybody around the world is somehow battling with the same sort of issues, which is the quality of their revenue somehow, the quality and sources of their revenue, the cargo business, and their costs, largely fuel. But as you point out, also legacy costs like staff and everything else as well can be important.
You mentioned fuel there is obviously very significant to everyone in the industry. One way you're tackling that is through introducing new, more fuel-efficient aircraft. I believe you had 18 aircraft delivered last year, is that correct?
It's actually this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah.
So they're going to help reduce that and your carbon emissions as well. That's an important thing for the company?
It is a very important thing, and you're quite right. I mean, the strategies for offsetting high fuel are not a large number, and the most important one, as you cited, is having a modern fleet. The difference between a newer aircraft and an older aircraft is not small. The fuel burn on a unit basis, let's say per seat, can be 20-25% different. So it's a big item, and making sure you do have the optimal fleet is very important. We have invested in a large number of new airplanes. They will be coming over the next 3 or 4 years, mostly 777-300ERs, which are, I think, the most efficient thing in the sky at the moment, as well as Airbus A330-300s, which are also fantastic for stage lengths of, say, 9 or 10 hours and below. So they will help us to get our unit fuel burn down is one thing. The other thing we do is we hedge. We try to hedge our fuel, but hedging really is only a bridge between one state of fuel price to another. I mean, if it's low and it goes high, it can make it the transition between the two states a bit easier to manage. But ultimately, you can't hedge fuel out years and years and years because it's too expensive.
Once you get people on those planes, or on your new planes, you're offering a new product as well, your premium economy class. What sort of consumer are you expecting to take up this sort of new offering?
I mean, product in generally, we've had a big push on product overall over the past few years. I mean, a year ago, we introduced a new business class, a flatbed business class, replacing another flatbed business class, but we felt strongly that we could do it better, and we have, so that's now rolling out across the fleet this year. You're quite right, premium economy, we got our first airplane in February, and we'll generally roll across the long-haul fleet and medium-haul fleet for the balance of this year. Who will buy premium economy? I think all of the experience everywhere else is that it's trade-ups from economy class. What's happened is within economy class, there are who say, I would like more comfort and more service, and I'm prepared to pay something for it. What can you offer me? And that's a natural thing. I mean, it's natural that markets have different segments in them. And I think Now, premium economy is pretty much becoming a worldwide product, and that's one of the reasons why we went into it. But our premium economy, we think, will be a very good product. It's almost like a regional business class seat. It's very spacious. You've got more pitch, better onboard service and meal, free glass of champagne. I mean, what more can it take to get anybody on board? But we think anybody who buys that product, which again will be a trade up from economy, will feel quite strongly they got a lot more than they would have got back in economy. Not forgetting about economy class passengers, though, we're actually bringing on a new long-haul economy class seat as well, which has the latest, fantastic video screens, kind of like an iPad, really dark and vivid colors. An interesting sort of recline mechanism, very comfortable. So we're looking across all of the classes on our aircraft to make sure that we're giving our customers a reason to keep coming back to Cathay Pacific. That's what it's really all about.
Well, you can't argue with a free glass of champagne. Okay, just one final question. We're here in Japan, in Tokyo, for the conference. Where do you see Japan as a market going over the next 12 months? Obviously, the tsunami last year perhaps hasn't been the strongest market over the last 10 years. Can you see that changing over the next 12 to 18 months?
Last year was obviously a very difficult year for Japan when they had the terrible earthquake and tsunami, which hit the Japanese economy, and I think Japanese people overall. I mean, such a disaster. We certainly took that very seriously. Japan has been a very important destination for Cathay Pacific. I think it's our 50th year of flying to Japan, so we actually raised 10 million Hong Kong dollars and helped with relief efforts. We operated some freighter aircraft in to bring relief supply. So Japan is near and dear to our hearts. We were greatly troubled to see the problems. But I have to say, as one would expect from such a great nation, Japan bounced back very quickly. And really by the last quarter of the year was rolling along in travel terms just as it had been, as if nothing had happened. I think that's a great tribute to the industry overall and getting out there and convincing people that it was safe to travel to Japan. We did a lot of work on that across our network. And within Japan, the outbound market again responded fairly quickly to some promotions and ideas about how to get it going again. So we were very pleased by how Japan ended up last year, and I think this year we're going to see things be even better, which is great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to Breaking Travel News today. I'll let you get back onto the conference floor. Thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.